No! Obviously, that's not the end of the video. Welcome back to Girl Sits on Floor and Talks to Camera for 20 minutes. I'm Olivia, and I'm gonna talk about yoga today because I do yoga, and not too long ago I got into a discussion. It wasn't an argument, it was a discussion with a woman who believed that yoga was evil, and she did research, so after reading, I guess, like 2 articles, believed that she knew everything and that yoga was Satan's playing ground, I don't know, and told me that I would have like health issues down the line and that it would cause infertility, like certain poses caused infertility, and that it invites evil spirits in. So seeing as I've been doing yoga for a little over 2 years and I'm not possessed by the devil yet, I don't have any health issues that yoga doesn't help. I do have some like joint problems, but those existed before yoga, and doing yoga actually helps my joints feel better and not cause me excruciating pain. I don't guess I'm infertile, but I would have no way of knowing. Don't even know if I want kids, so that's fine with me. I have my own research that I've done. Can you see that? Can you see those paragraphs? Can you see my college education hard at work? I came prepared because, you know, my class hasn't started yet. My classes start in about 2 weeks. No, next week. Why not spend my very little free time doing research? According to my research that I did, which was pretty extensive, I read a lot of articles, and I did read the ones that are against yoga, and I will bring up the counterpoints. However, I don't believe the counterpoints are valid, and I will point out why. I believe in giving out all the information, and of course there will be people who disagree with me, and this video really isn't to convince the people who believe yoga is evil, because once you're dead set in what you believe, this video is not going to change your mind. But if there's anyone out there who doesn't really know or understand, or, you know, they want to do yoga but they're like, I don't know, I've heard some weird stuff, I don't know how to feel, maybe this will provide some clarity for you. I can insert some footage of me doing yoga, and I mean, look at that. The only thing evil about that is how bad I am at it. But I haven't been practicing in like a month because I got in an accident, but that's neither here nor there. So first, obviously, literally nowhere in the Bible does the word yoga exist. So we have to take some things in context in order to understand how they apply to something like yoga that didn't necessarily exist back then, or if it did, it wasn't spoken about in the Bible. So yes, yoga's origins are pagan. Technically, yes, yoga came from Hinduism. If we denounce everything with pagan origins, that means we also have to stop celebrating Christmas and Easter because those started pagan. But we changed those. Christians took those and changed their meanings so that now when we celebrate them, we're not celebrating the pagan version of them, we're celebrating the Christian version of them. And I mean, there are some people who believe that celebrating those things is evil, but if you're one of those people who doesn't believe that, if you don't believe Christmas and Easter are evil things to celebrate, like the birth of Christ and Christ's resurrection are not necessarily evil things to celebrate, then you probably shouldn't believe that yoga is evil either, because just because something has pagan origins does not condemn it for its eternity. Just like human beings, we were condemned, but we don't have to be condemned if we change, you know, if we come to salvation, then we don't have to stay in our pagan past. And an example of this would be like, Paul talks about eating meat that's been sacrificed to idols, and in this chapter, Paul says that since the idols represent a false god, that God does not exist, therefore the idol is nothing, it's meaningless. The meat sacrificed to those idols, that's meaningless because that is no real God. There's only one God, and that meat wasn't sacrificed to him. That sacrifice has no significance, it has no meaning, so it's okay to eat that. You know, Jesus, when he came back, he made all things clean, so things in the Old Testament, like in Leviticus, you know, there are people who believe that tattoos are wrong. If you believe tattoos are wrong, and you have your ears pierced, or you've ever cut your hair, or you wear clothing made of blended materials, kind of a hypocrite, because all of those are described within the same laws set in place that included tattoos, because tattoos had pagan origins. However, these days, most Christians, not most, a lot of Christians don't believe that anymore. A lot of Christians have tattoos because they understand that Christ came and abolished that part of the law. Again, this woman who I had this conversation with also mentioned to me that she wanted a tattoo, and I was like, Tattoos have pagan origins. It's all about your intentions. And again, Paul says in this chapter, if eating that meat will cause you to stumble, if that's something you're not comfortable with, then don't do it. So the same with tattoos. If that's something you're uncomfortable with and you feel like there's an evilness attached to it, then don't do it. If you feel like yoga is something that you just cannot separate from Hinduism, then don't do it. However, yoga these days, especially in our Western culture, is so watered down from its original version. Yoga originally in the Hindu context is something that's more of a lifestyle and not just an exercise. So yes, there are branches of yoga, so to speak, that follow along with the Hindu religion. However, the yoga that is practiced in the Western culture is just an asana, which is literally just physical exercise. Literally that. It's physical exercise and meditation. If you want to talk about meditation, Jesus meditated, David meditated, so many people in the Bible meditated. The Lord calls us to meditate on His Word. So meditation is not evil, exercise is not evil. Put the two together, that's yoga. I mean, that's what we Westerners do with yoga. And even outside of Western culture, we don't really have a right to deem it evil as Christians in the Western side of the world that were not raised around Hindu people. And I spoke with some Nepali people who are Christians who grew up in Nepal, grew up surrounded by Hinduism, have family members that are Hindu, maybe themselves were once Hindu. And I asked them, is it okay to do yoga? And they were like, yeah. I said, do Christians here view yoga as evil? Is it something they shouldn't do? And they looked at me confused. They were like, no. And I told them that some Christians in America believe that, and they were so confused by that. They were like, no, it's just exercise. So if anyone has anything to say about it, it's the literal people who came from Hindu backgrounds. If they live in that culture and they live surrounded by idol worship and surrounded by evil, and they're like, no, nothing's wrong with yoga, I feel like they have, their opinion matters a little more than my Western opinion. My opinion of someone who, before ever traveling to Nepal, had never met a Hindu person in real life. So at its most basic, which is what we Westerners do, yoga is an exercise. And in 1 Corinthians 6, Paul talks about our body being a temple of the Holy Spirit. The Bible throughout talks about treating our bodies in a healthy way. So like the Daniel fast, you know, people will do that for January or something, and they say that fasting is a spiritual thing, but it's also taking care of your body, it's eating healthier. The Bible talks about us taking care of our physical vessels so that we can use them to their fullest extent. So people who tell me that yoga is wrong a lot of times don't even work out, and I'm like, okay, but you're not even taking care of your body, so who are you to condemn how I take care of my body? Is exercise evil because of the Olympics? Consider this, the Olympics came from Roman culture, and they named it the Olympics after Mount Olympus, which is where all the Roman gods lived on top of. Does that make exercise evil because that has pagan roots? No, if we see an Olympian out there and they have a Bible verse tatted on them, we're like, yes! Yes! Spread the Lord's name! We're excited about it. We love when Christians are outspoken, especially during something like the Olympics. If you're not against the Olympics, then you can't be against yoga. You just can't. Doesn't count, sorry. And our bodies, this is my main point. Our bodies don't have cheat codes. They don't. God did not design our bodies so that if I hold one position, like downward dog, that I'm suddenly gonna be infertile. That doesn't happen. Like, yeah, can I harm myself doing yoga if I do it wrong? But exercise in and of itself is good for our bodies, and a certain pose, a certain movement, as long as it's like within your range of motion and not yanking something out of socket, is not going to harm you, and it's not going to allow evil spirits into you. Yoga is a tool. It's how you use it, it's your intentions behind it. If your goal with yoga is to build muscle, then that's all you're doing. You're building muscle. If your goal with yoga is to just breathe and relax and meditate, that's what you're doing. You're not inviting evil spirits. You're not harming your body. You're not worshiping pagan gods unless you choose to do that. If you go to do yoga and you're doing it to worship pagan gods, then that's what you're doing. Okay? If you're not doing it with the intention to worship something, then you're not worshiping that thing by accident. You can't accidentally worship something, but you're not going to be doing yoga just breathing and trying to, hold a plank and accidentally worship a pagan god. That's not how that works. So if you think of yoga as a tool in and of itself is not an evil thing. It's how the tool is used. Think of yoga like a knife. You can use a knife for anything. You can use it for just cutting something open, or if you're in the woods, you can use it to like cut your way through some branches. I don't know what people do with knives. But you can also use a knife to whittle an idol from some wood. You could. But does that make the knife evil? It makes the person's intentions evil. The person's intentions with that knife was to carve an idol and to worship it. The knife itself does not become evil. The world is not as black and white as we want to think. Just because something was once evil doesn't mean it remains evil. It's the same with human beings. Someone can do something evil doesn't make them evil forever. If they choose to turn from that evil thing, we can't view things as so black and white. This was evil, so it's always evil and it will never not be evil. That is such a dogmatic religious mindset that is only harming people and only turning people away from Christianity. Man, this was supposed to sort of be more funny, and I'm not being funny at all. I'm preaching! Am I allowed to preach because I'm a woman? Don't tell my school I made this video. So some counter arguments, like I said, I would mention these, and most of these arguments come from one woman. Like if you do your research, most of what you'll see comes from this woman named Laurette Willis. Most of the articles that are against yoga use quotes from this woman. These are postures that are offered to 330 million Hindu gods. Yoga postures really are. They are offerings to the gods. If you do these postures and you do the breathing technique in this meditation, then you will be accepted by a god, little g. That's the real danger. That doesn't make any sense. They're literally just stretches and building muscles. Like, you could be in the gym lifting weights, or if you just bend down and touch your toes to stretch your lower back, that's technically a yoga pose. Like, if I just want to touch my toes, you mean I'm suddenly offering myself to a Hindu god? No, I'm just touching my toes so I can stretch my hamstrings and my lower back. It's your intentions. You're not offering yourself to a god because that god doesn't exist. Those little gods, if you don't believe in them, then they don't exist. So how can you offer yourself to something that's not real? You can't. Just like I said before, yoga cannot be separated from its origins. Yes, it can. Just like everything else can be separated from its origins. Should I not eat fruit because Adam and Eve ate a fruit and damned the rest of creation and in so doing? I mean, arguably no. We're supposed to eat fruit and vegetables. Just like we separate Christmas and Easter from their origins, we separate yoga from its origins. There's so many things that we do that have evil origins. Like, should I not have bought this shirt because a Hindu person may have made it? I mean, maybe because they're probably working in a sweatshop, and I really am working to like shop more ethically. Does just the fact alone that a Hindu person made this shirt make this shirt evil? No. It's just a shirt. Now if I bought this shirt knowing a Hindu person made it and used this shirt in some way to honor a Hindu god, then yeah, maybe that I shouldn't buy the shirt. But it doesn't make the shirt evil. It doesn't make the thing, the tool, evil. It's how you use the tool and your intentions behind it. And then last, yoga being harmful to health. There is no valid study on this. Every study that you read will tell you that yoga is good for your health. Research has proven yoga lowers blood pressure, increases musculoskeletal health and circulation, and decreases stress. It can also be used for insomnia, depression, arthritis, asthma, hypertension, and more. No study will tell you that yoga is harmful for your health, and the only thing that says that yoga causes infertility is a study done with yoga mats themselves. And it says that there are some chemicals in the mats that are flame retardant that maybe if you inhale, like if you're, right by your mat and you're inhaling that too much, maybe it lowers your chances of getting pregnant, makes it a little harder to get pregnant, but it doesn't make you infertile. And if you're worried about that, just buy a yoga mat without those chemicals. There's plenty of like organic yoga mats. They're heckin' expensive, so I got mine from Kohl's. That's the only study that was ever done on yoga and infertility. And anything else is just pseudoscience. And it's just people who want to find something wrong with it, so they cherry pick their arguments. They cherry pick a study that someone did yoga, and because that person had a pre-existing joint thing, it made it worse. I have pre-existing joint issues and yoga makes it better. If I don't do yoga for an extended period of time, then my joints start to hurt. But as long as I consistently do yoga, I consistently stretch and exercise those muscles, then those joints don't hurt, or they don't cause me as many issues. Those were really the only counter arguments I could find, because there's not enough evidence to support anything else. There's just not. It doesn't make any sense. But that could just be me. But I love discourse. I love debating and arguing, so if that's what this channel turns into, then so be it. And lastly, God created our bodies to move. He created our bodies to breathe. He created our minds so that we could think and meditate on His Word. Yoga is movement, breathing, and meditation. It's all about how you use it. Our bodies are good things, and if we use them for good things, like moving so that we build muscle and grow stronger so that we can do more for the kingdom, breathing because we literally have to breathe to survive, and meditating on God's Word, or meditating on His promises, or meditating on His goodness. If you do those things, that's yoga. What's wrong with that? So leave a comment, tell me what you think. Do you think yoga is evil, or do you think it's not? Do you think it's okay for Christians to do it? Or just any blatant attack against me, because, you know, people on YouTube like to do that. Leave nasty comments about a person they don't know. Again, my name's Olivia. You can subscribe if you want. I don't blame you if you don't. And I'll see you next time, maybe. I need to do some yoga after this. I'm stressed.
Put my foot in my mouth again.
Also, I wear pajama pants while I film because you only see me from here up.